Good afternoon, everyone. This is another installment of our Sacred Speaker Session for our annual Sacred Waters Retreat for Women of Color. I am your host, Sobande Greer, the visionary and founder of the Sacred Waters Herbal Retreat for Women of Color, along with my other beautiful co-founder, Shana Nunley, who is out of Atlanta. So tonight we have a really special guest. She is the main staple for our Sacred Waters Herbal Retreat for Women of Color every year. She's also our senior spiritual advisor and elder on the panel. A lot of you know her, many of you don't. She is the author of several books, but the one that has gained the most notoriety around the world and is still changing lives and opening eyes and moving people, moving people, but moving sisters, definitely moving women all over the world to the next level of their own spirituality, is Jambalaya. So if you don't have a copy of Jambalaya, I would advise you to log on to something, Amazon, somewhere, go to Barnes and Noble. A lot of people don't go to real bookstores anymore. Even if you can't afford the book, your public library, some of the libraries in some of the cities across the United States are carrying Jambalaya. So I would ask that you grab a copy of Jambalaya and see what doors it opens for you. So we are always honored, and it's always a pleasure for me because Yeye is my honorary godmother, and she's a close personal family grandmother to my girls, and we love her, we honor her, and I'm so happy that she's tuned in. She's in California now, so it is Pacific Standard Time, and we're honored that she is making some time to do our video interview for our Sacred Speaker Session tonight. How are you doing, Yeye?
I am doing fine tonight. It's been a very, very lovely, loving day for me, and I've gotten enough sleep and eaten well, and so I'm doing pretty good today.
Well, that's good, Mama. It's good to see you. I'm always happy to see you. It's for me. I'm having a selfish moment because I just can't jump in the car and drive 4 hours to see you anymore, because now you're back in California instead of Atlanta. But I'm glad that you were finally back where you want to be. It's good at this age for you to do exactly what you want to do, to be exactly where you want to be when you want to be there. So I'm glad that you are back home. I want to jump right in tonight with this interview so that we don't hold you so long on this recording. So if you could introduce yourself to those who are listening to this via podcast, and those people who have tuned in to this interview via Facebook and Instagram.
Well, you know, I invite people to call me Yeye because I have so many names and titles that you could get your tongue twisted trying to pronounce all of them. But basically, my name, the name that most people know me by, that is Luisah Teish, means adventuresome spirit, and that is a name that I received many years ago when I was an initiate in the Fahami Temple of Amun-Ra. And then, of course, I have my Orisha names and my Ifa names, which are all connected to the goddess Oshun. I have my Native American names, which has my sacred animals in it. But all of them end up culminating in Yeye, which is a title that is given to a respected older woman, you know. So I encourage people to call me Yeye. I think that the blessing of my life has and is the word variety. You know, the variety of people that I know, the variety of cultures that I've been allowed to interact with, and the variety of experiences that has brought knowledge that resulted in wisdom. I always tell people the best way to acquire wisdom is to start out as a fool, acquire some information, apply that information, and then have some experiences that turns into wisdom. So, you know, that's the way I think of myself, as somebody who is in service to the ancestors, open to having a diversity of experiences with a lot of different people that turns into something we can call wisdom that I can then share.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeye. How did you recognize and cultivate your own gifts as a young Black woman? How did you do that?
Well, I can credit my mother and that bunch of women that she hung out with. I grew up in New Orleans, and my mother was sort of like the block mother. You know, her house was mother central. We had at one point we had a daycare center in the house. People came to check with her around what was cooking and what was going on in the neighborhood and who was going to take care of who. And, you know, growing up in the Black South in the 50s, children were not allowed to question their elders. So that made of me a consummate eavesdropper, you know. And so I eavesdropped on the elders and discovered that the women in my neighborhood were not behaving like the women on television, you know. They weren't walking around waxing their floor in high heels and pearls. They were very busy working in the garden. They were interpreting dreams. They were telling important stories. They were delivering babies and cooking up various herbal compounds. And so I often say to people that I realize, especially with the passing of my mother a few years ago, I realized that everything that I am and everything that I do, everything that I know is the outgrowth of seeds that were planted in me by my mother and her circle of sister friends since I was 7 years old. So I'll get right back. Okay, so you know, I received these seeds of knowledge from the women in my community growing up in the South. And over the years, I've simply cultivated, investigated more deeply what they taught me, or what I learned eavesdropping on them.
That's quite funny. A funny story that you learn to harness a lot of things by simply eavesdropping. And I think a lot of us did that as children. You know, trying to find out what the world was really made of
That's right.
by doing.
I tell people all the time, you know, you think that your children are not listening to you. You know, you think that they're ignoring you, and maybe even they think that they're ignoring you. But that information is going into their consciousness, and at the right time, it pops up. I mean, I will be 72 in April, and I still find my mother's voice in my head saying, "Girl, don't you do that. or you better do this, you know what I'm saying? And so it is very important what we tell our children and what we do when we think they are not looking, or when we think they are not listening. But I can say honestly that I cultivated the gifts that I received from my elders by a combination of conscious study, that is, looking for information, um, listening to other elders, and analyzing the experiences that I had, my dreams, my desires, the people I encountered, the things that I learned. I think it's important for everybody to know that you come in here with a basic native intelligence. You inherit certain gifts from your elders and your ancestors, and then it is incumbent upon you to take those gifts and develop them. And I know that everybody has a gift, so work on it.
Well, thank you, Mother. Speaking of the elders and what they have contributed and poured into our lives, as an elder, what challenges and obstacles do you think women of color are facing in this generation? And then how different or comparable do you think it is compared to your generation, or possibly
Hmm.
your mother's generation?
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's a double-edged sword because women of color right now are standing in a crossroads on a precipice. We have this generation especially has a lot of things weighing on them. I won't say that they have more challenges than my generation had. I think the difference is that um, the the obstacles, the main obstacle is that there has been sort of a fragmentation occurring. When I was coming up, the threat of physical violence, the threat of poverty, the threat of being denied this, that, and the other was there just as it is here. But we could organize face to face, whereas today people think that sending a tweet about something or talking about it on Facebook is the solution, whereas we knew you had to get boots on the ground in a hurry. You had to confront each other face to face and deal with what was going on. I think that the other thing that overwhelms this generation is the threat of coming up under a dictatorship and seeing corruption at the highest levels of government, and how that filters down and impacts people's everyday lives. I've been concerned because I've run into a number of young Black women who are experiencing a sense of powerlessness that I suspect is being promoted on social media. you know in my day, we were told all power to the people, struggle for the power to guide the life of the people. And while that message does come out through Black Lives Matter and a few other things, uh, a lot of our young people are so tuned in to social media that they really think the friends on Facebook are their friends. They really think that what's posted there is reality. And I want to talk specifically now about something that I'm going to address soon, okay? As I've been traveling around the country, I've encountered two things that I'm concerned about. Number one, there are a number of young people who are seeking spiritual guidance and are being misled by charlatans. Don't believe everything you see on Facebook, okay? There are some good things on YouTube, but there's some things that are leading people astray. One of the problems that I see is, you know, I have young people telling me they have no community, they have no guidance. And then when I go talk to the elders in that community, they say, we're burnt out, we're tired, they don't want to do their homework, they don't want reciprocity, etc. Okay. I think that this division between the young people and the elders is something that is being promoted, and that I saw it for a minute in the 60s, and we recognized it and didn't do it. You know, a lot of people are being told, well, you are millennials, and so you are so different from your parents and your grandparents. And that is simply a lie to keep us divided, to keep us from unifying, to take over the power that we can and should take over to run our lives and to run this country, okay? Right now, we have a cluster of women of color moving into positions of leadership in this country, and we need to stand with them and stand behind them. I don't expect any of them to be flawless. They're always gonna fall short of somebody's expectation, but we need to stand up. That's the national scene. On the individual scene, what I've encountered traveling around the country is a young Black woman will come and sit down in front of me and say, oh, yeah, I'm so happy to meet you. And it don't take but a minute before she tells me, well, I'm an introverted empath and I don't like people. I'm an introverted empath and I don't like people. That sentence is almost repeated like a mantra. And then I have to say, wait a minute, you don't like people. I'm sitting here and I'm a person. Okay, let's break this down. What do you mean you're an introverted empath? Well, you know, when I'm around people, I feel their pain and I know what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And it really makes me introvert because I don't want, you know, that's a curse. No, that is a gift that nobody has taught you how to cultivate. That is your ancestors handing you a survival instinct that needs to be cultivated. If you are an empath, right, and you can pick up on what other people are feeling and know what they're thinking, okay, that once you cultivate that, that will put you in a position where you can help other people, where you can know the truth, where somebody's lying to you. You don't need a lie detector machine to find it out, you know. So, you know, at some point in the future, I'm going to start doing something either on my Patreon page or on my my YouTube video, something, talking with people who feel like that gift is a curse. That is a gift. But because nobody is showing you how to cultivate that gift, there is a tendency to hide under this thing of, I am triggered by trauma. These days are not more traumatizing than the days when I was growing up. You know, there's more awareness about it. You know, we know what sex trafficking is and people are talking about it now, but it's been going on forever. We have more information about rape and we have more information about medical apartheid, but we had the same problems. The difference is what we do with the information. Do not allow yourself to become overwhelmed. Move toward cultivating your gifts so that you can become empowered. That's the main difference, is the communities now people need to get together in small circles, okay, and look each other in the face and speak truthfully about what I'm feeling, what I know, what I'm doing, what you're feeling, what you know, what you're doing, and then do that stuff together. And that cannot be done on Facebook. That needs to be done in person, face to face. That's
You're
what's next.
you're absolutely right. Well, this
That's
generation
what's
is
next.
definitely losing losing the skill set of how to use interpersonal communication, and that's definitely one of the biggest tools that they're going to need, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for a growing future. Speaking of future, Mother, can you share with the audience, just briefly, the importance of knowing how to heal yourself on a basic level through plants, herbs, and food as medicine?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, it's the best way to make healing a part of your everyday life. You know, it's the best way to use the gifts that nature has given us. The plants and the herbs love us, are here to have a healing relationship with us. And it is best, as much as possible, to go directly to the herb. You know, we're living in a pill popping culture where most people walk in a doctor's office, they take a look at you and they give you a drug, right? And then you go to a different doctor and they give you another drug, and that drug is at war with the other two drugs that you are taking. And sometimes your pharmacist knows more about your health than your doctor does. And that, that is a problem. That is a problem. But we need to reach back in time and find those remedies that grandma and great grandma used, and have your little herb garden in your kitchen, you know. Even if you don't have land where you can, grow a lot, have a couple of herbs. I tell people, if you've got 7 herbs in your kitchen that you can use to heal yourself and your family, you are doing really, really good. It is beautiful to have the plants in the house. Caring for them helps you to cultivate patience and puts you in the energy of the powers of earth. And it's inexpensive, and it is very, very productive. Now, what's interesting to me is that recently, a few years ago, I was thumbing through log in New Orleans, and I came upon this great announcement that the Tulane University was now having a class and offering a certificate in what they were calling culinary medicine, right? And the big revelation is they have discovered that what people eat has an impact on their health. Whip-de-doo, you know what I'm saying? What a great revelation for the medical establishment to come to understand that what you eat. How long we've been knowing that? How long have we been knowing that? But the average person goes to a doctor, and the doctor will tell you crazy stuff like, well, it don't matter how much water you drink, or if you put lemon in your water, that doesn't do anything. You have to learn 2 things. You have to learn that your health is in your hands, okay? Even if you're working with a good doctor will respect a patient who comes in with some knowledge and some commitment to their own health versus somebody who's just, oh, give me a pill, you know, I'm helpless. And the best way to do that is to have a daily routine where healthy stuff is going into your body, to have a cleansing that you do for each season, a spring cleansing, a summer cleansing, a fall cleansing, a winter cleansing, to keep the body in good shape. Okay. So I want to say that everybody can learn the medicinal properties of ginger, you know, garlic, things that you subject to have in your kitchen all the time. Just choose 7, and we're going to be working on a book to help you to do that. And stop eating fast food. Don't let these people fill you up with addictive additives that are going to keep you running to them to come by meat from traumatized cows, you know, their dairy that's been sitting around forever, their vegetables that are, you know, full of pesticides and that kind of stuff. It is very, very important that you know how to heal yourself of things that are not complex and stay in a healthy place. Now, you know, traveling around the world the way I do, and meeting people in various spiritual circles, I'm often in a place where I can observe what people are doing and see how effective it is. I don't know if it's because of the opioid epidemic or because our healthcare is threatened, but I want to say au chapeau to the herbalists that I have met. It seems to me that in the spiritual community, it is the women herbalists who are the most serious about their discipline, probably because if you ain't serious, you can poison somebody. But I have found that the women herbalists are very, very serious about their work. They're very, very dedicated. They are the kindest, right? And they need the most support because I'll say this without reservation, that the people who are doing the real healing are in danger. Our naturopathic healers, our herbalists, our, you know, acupuncturists, our people who are involved in alternative healing are turning up dead, are turning up missing, and that kind of stuff. You know, we need to keep our eye on that, and we need to um, have the knowledge so well dispersed that you can't knock the healing tower down. That is very, very important. Your body will tell you when you done had too much sugar. You know, I think that I've met several herbalists who are concentrating on ways to help people overcome addictions, detoxing, building up immunity, and, you know, things that'll be generally good for your health. And it's not that difficult. It can be quite a pleasure knowing which tea to drink, along with what kind of attitude shift, what kind of meditation you ought to do, what kind of order you ought to put in your life. It's a holistic practice, this business of daily healing.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. That really was really good advice. And as the generations move further into getting away from eating and working and growing their own food, we become a sicker race of people. So it's really important that this generation of young people understand the importance that one day a grocery store is going to close down, and they won't have any canned preserved foods. They
Right.
won't have any, they won't have these things that they're accustomed to. There'll be no Starbucks.
That's right.
And so if this generation doesn't learn how to employ basic techniques in healing, what we call kitchen healing,
Yeah.
they, they're not gonna last. They're gonna expire quite fast.
Mm-hmm.
As the this next question is, as the senior elder and spiritual advisor for Sacred Waters, can you tell the audience why you think this gathering is set apart from a lot of gatherings that you've seen or that you've been a part of in the past, and especially for women of color?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I've witnessed with Sacred Waters that is important is, first of all, it recognizes the sacredness of water. That's the first thing. People are taken out of the urban setting and brought into a natural setting where you have to pay attention to the gifts of the earth, you know. The other thing I like about Sacred Waters is that it attracts women of color from all age groups and all spiritual traditions and different economic levels, and brings those women into community in a way that is face to face, and in a way that requires us to cooperate with each other, to understand each other, to exchange knowledge between us. And Sacred Waters attempts to address the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the communal. you know that's often missing from a lot of women's gatherings. You can go to things where it's all intellectual, they're just pushing out information, or you can go to other things where it's just a bunch of women doing a giggly girl cutie thing, and it end up not being holistic. But the intensity with which women are gathered at Sacred Waters, it's kind of like putting people for a few days, putting people in an atmosphere where everything comes up, everything is dealt with, everybody contributes to the body of knowledge and activity that is manifested. And what I really love is everybody leaves the gathering clearer about what their next step is. Okay. That becomes very, very important, because there are too many gatherings that at the end of it you say, so what? So what? You had a weekend of giggling, and so what? But in my experience, the women who have attended Sacred Waters, who have been in contact with me, see themselves progressing as a result of having been at Sacred Waters. They see themselves as being empowered. It's 22 hours. And they reach out to other members of the community. Like, I know a couple of sisters who started out, first time at Sacred Waters, who are now completing books. I know a couple of sisters who started out at Sacred Waters who now have very successful women's healing groups, and who are starting alternative businesses and that kind of thing. We tend to have good follow-up with our people. I see people return reporting that this this was integral to their progress, to their moving forward. And I think one of the most important things about it is it does two things. It provides a place where women feel safe to be themselves, to bring their issues to the table or to the floor, to know that there are people present who are competent to address it, and that they will leave having peeled another layer off of the onion of the issues that they're dealing with. And for African American women especially, gatherings like Sacred Waters show us that we can be together without a bunch of catty bitch shit. Okay?
To that.
We can be together. The lie that we've been told that we always have to be at odds with each other, we always have to be jealous, we always have to be making, catty remarks, so we always have to be on yellow alert from an attack from another sister, is not true. This is a place where you experience that is not always the case. It is possible for sisterhood to occur.
All right. Well, with that being said, Mama, I think that ritual plays heavily into the work and into the energy of that weekend. Would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, we're in a place now where everybody needs ritual. The life has gotten so technological and so mechanical, and people work so hard for economic solvency that the spirit can get depleted or neglected. Ritual is one of those natural ancestral inheritances that we have that has been taken out of our hands. People think that ritual is limited to the priest class. Only people who've been to the seminary, only people who've had certain kinds of training, only they are qualified to create ritual. And while expertise in the area is important, gatherings like Sacred Waters show us how we can create participatory ritual that helps to bring about shifts in consciousness and consequently shifts in behavior and shifts in our interaction with each other that cannot always be explained by rational means. You do a ritual, you feel different. The energy around you changes. Something happens in your consciousness that causes you to feel different and then behave different. Our ancestors knew this. This is an inherited knowledge that is natural, which we've been talked out of. Like I was talking to a group of people night before last, and I said to them, ritual is so ingrained in nature that it's actually been shown that the antelopes on the African plain have a dance that they do on the day of the first rain after the dry season. And some elephants have been found to go to the place where their mother's skeleton is. If an elephant dies, and unfortunately there are too many poachers killing them, and the carcass is allowed to lay on the plain, there are elephants who will go to the place where their parents' carcass is sitting and pick up their mother's head and clean it and turn it facing east. So when somebody tells you that ritual is not important to your life, you know, or that you shouldn't be doing ritual, I invite you to just watch the behavior of your toddler and see how much ritual that child is doing, or to take note of your own unconscious ritual making. Like a lot of people do unconscious altar building. You go in their house, on the mantelpiece above the fireplace, there's a doily with grandma's picture and a stone and a piece of driftwood, you know, and all the thing that, you know, and a lamp. And the only thing that's missing is a candle and a glass of water. Okay. And so we need to learn positive ritual, because again, this is a culture that only talks about it when it is neurotic. You know, the ritual of the person who's OCD, or the ritual of the person who is a serial killer. You know, they only talk about, you know, scripture tells you to listen to the still small voice, but they only talk about it when it's some nutcase, you know, saying the voice told him he's the son of Sam. But we all have that inner working that is constantly trying to guide us. So we have to learn to shut off the monkey mind that's always talking, be still and quiet, listen for the voice of the ancestors, and cultivate the gifts that they are trying to give you. This is done at the sacred waters by involving the women in various rituals and practices that are designed to awaken that ancestral knowledge inside of you.
Well, thank you, Mama, for that. Well, the last thing I want to do is make sure that you tell our listening audience on our podcast, and those who are tuning into this live or this recorded interview, how to find you online. Where can they find your latest works, what you're doing online, what services you have available? Where can they find you, Yeye?
Okay, so the first thing is I have a beautiful website, which is www.YeyeLuisahTeish.com. You know, there you will find my online classes, my divinations, my sacred sites tours, the book lists, and things like that. Right now, I am, you know, I do courses according to the seasons. And I always preface each course with a free masterclass so that you know what's coming on in the course. Right now, this is the month of January, and we are doing dream work. The dream work class is now full, but any time that a class is full, you can go to patreon.com/Yeye Luisah Teish and sign on at different levels. With Patreon, there is a monthly membership, and depending upon what level you sign up for, you get increasing amounts of information, like a visualization, a videotape, a written material, etc. So take a look at that. The thing that I always tell people is, if, for example, you got in, it was too late for you to get in the DreamWork class, go on Patreon. That will keep you connected, and know that in March, my next class is all about prosperity, so that we will learn how to pull resources and do things like money pouring to bring more resources into your life. I have sacred sites tours coming up. We usually do New Orleans in October and November. And this year, I'm planning to do a trip to Greece to track the Black Madonna in the Mediterranean. So that's something to look forward to. As much as possible, I am going to start making more responses to the people who have tuned into my YouTube channel, and I'm learning to have a better relationship to some of this technology. So I will be doing a Facebook Live every once in a while. There's so many projects on the table, and right now I'm having to have a period of rest and recuperation for a while. But almost any time, if you Google my name, you will see that I have things coming up like encouraging women to participate in the red tent momentum, encouraging people in summits where we talk about ancestor reverence, sacred sites tours. I have a line of products in favor of the ancestors, including T-shirts and coffee cups and stuff like that, promoting the idea that we are ancestors of the future. So therefore, everything we do is important. And those of you who want more direct contact, because believe me, sending me a message through Facebook Messenger is not going to reach me. I don't know why. Messenger doesn't work for me. It just lies to me all the time. You can send me an email at Yeye Luisah Teish at gmail.com, and that will come through the sister who is my Queen Leah, who is my administrative assistant. She goes through those and lets me know who's asking for divinations, who's asking for workshops, etc. And then we get back to you in a timely fashion. So almost any time that you Google my name, you'll see what the next thing is that I'm up to. But my website, my Facebook page, and especially Patreon are the best places to make that contact.
I'll tell you one thing, at 72, Mother, you talk about catching up with technology. I think you're doing really well. I know a lot of elders who have no clue to things that you just said. So and then there's some young ones too that you have beat. So I think you're doing quite well for all the technology that you are engaged in.
Well, I got some young people advising me on this stuff because, I have this electromagnetic field on my body that makes watches, even quartz watches, run fast on my arm. And it has a weird effect on my technology. Like, my cell phone is just about useless. There's no sense trying to text me. There's no sense in me trying to call anybody. The phone is schizophrenic. I'll tell you that. The phone is quite schizophrenic. And then sometimes I get a little confused, especially about Facebook, because I've told people that if you come onto my Facebook page, my homepage, to post something or to say something, you have to regard that you are walking into my living room, okay? And in my living room, we're gonna respect each other. I'm gonna put your ass out, okay? So I have had to tell some people, you can't talk to other people like that on my page because I will block you. I'll put you out. I've had a couple of times when I actually had to go confront people, go to their Facebook page and say, you know, you have a problem. You have a problem. But most of the people who post stuff on my Facebook page are giving me good information about what's going on in the world. And I do encourage people to go to my Facebook page because I post the latest sharing, you know, lessons there, cartoons, jokes. Sometimes I let people know what's going on with me personally, you know. I have a Twitter account. I'm scared of Instagram, honey. I just don't know what people are doing. I don't know what people are doing there. And further, I'm really concerned about the number of young women that I've encountered who are depressed because they got rejected by somebody on Tinder.
Oh, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother thing. One day we gonna look at that and see how we can create something different where people who are looking for love can get to a place where they might actually find it.
Okay.
We're gonna talk to Oshun about that. We're gonna talk. She gotta help us out with that.
That's the woman to talk to. With that being said, Mama, I wanna thank you for taking some time to be with us for this installment of our Sacred Speaker Session. If you are interested in joining us at this annual Sacred Waters Herbal Retreat for Women of Color, it is May 22nd through the 24th, 2020 in Dover, Tennessee, which is about an hour, 45 minutes outside of the Nashville, Tennessee area. It's in the beautiful rolling hills of Tennessee, down by an area called Kentucky Lake, or land between the lakes. It sits on about 500 acres of federal property, and we have the entire grounds to ourselves the entire weekend to just enjoy one another. You can reach us by email at eventdirectorsacredwatersretreat@gmail.com, or you can visit our website to register at www.sacredwatersretreat.com. Click on Tennessee, and you will see all of the speakers we have for this year, as well as if you are a Black or Brown business owner and you are looking to expand your brand, we are looking for some additional exhibitors for our Sacred Emporium. Please click on the exhibitor link there and you can download our application. We are still seeking sponsors. As a marginalized event featuring marginalized group of women, Black and Brown women, we don't often get the support that major events get, that larger scale events get. And we are asking those who can step in the gap to help us to download our sponsorship application and look at some of the things that this event needs. If you can help, or if you know someone that can help, please let them know how to reach us on our website, www.sacredwatersretreat.com. We can also be found on the gram, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under Sacred Waters Retreat as well. I am, again, Sobande Greer. I'm the visionary and founder of Sacred Waters Retreats, LLC, and my co-founder, Shana Nunley, out of Atlanta, Georgia. She is not here with us tonight, but she's here in spirit. We want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, please send them to us. We ask that you share, like, and comment for this video, and we hope to see you there. Sacred Waters Retreat only holds 100 spaces. We have about 58 left, I believe it is, at last count. So tickets will be going fast, especially after February. So if you are interested in joining us, please do that. There is a payment plan available. It's a $100 non-refundable deposit to hold your space, and then you have till May the 1st to pay that off. So we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Have a great week manifesting everything that you want and that you need for yourself, your families, and your communities on purpose. Ashe, thank you to the ancestors who have brought us a mighty long way and whose shoulders we stand on.